Hello everybody. Tonight I will be your reader. My name is TerraRaven, and we got a few good stories that go into the ideal of madness and dreams. So I want you guys to sit back, enjoy, turn off the lights, and prepare to get scared. There once was a woman named Sarah. All day and all night, she would do nothing but watch and obsess over one and only one YouTuber. This obsession quickly turned into desire, so she made a group on Facebook with the hopes to contact her desirable dearest. Anytime anyone would try to accuse her of being so obsessed, she would go onto YouTube and rant about how they were being sexist or being a quote-unquote bad person. One person finally stood up and got sick of it and said, "This group makes me sick. All you do is rant and complain about sexism, and if you want ranting, you describe your sexual desires to have with your dream guy. If anyone makes any comment about how awkward it is, you freak and jump on them and ban them from the group." The next day, that person was never on Facebook again. Just up and poof, gone, kaput, no more, possibly dead. After a week, it was discovered that they had the big case of the fuckets, and said, "I'm not going to share the same space as that whore, even if it is digital." Many people started to revolt against her, and they left her group and they made their own. The moral of the story is, stop being so butthurt, Sarah. Just get help. I was 6, maybe 7 years old when this happened. My family had just gotten back from visiting my aunt's house. My cousins were watching a scary movie in the basement, and even though my parents said I would get scared, I snuck down there and watched some of it anyway. I don't remember what part I saw, but there were these little monsters with teeth that would eat people in their sleep. When we left for home, it was dark outside. My parents scolded me for watching the movie. I secretly hoped that they would keep scolding me, because I was feeling sleepy and didn't want those things to eat me. We got home fine, and my parents even managed to calm me down enough to the point where, when my bedtime came around, I could go to sleep. I fell asleep almost immediately, and slept pretty well. I woke up sometime during the night, knowing where everything is in my house. I didn't turn on the lights, but instead used the street light coming in through the window. I went into the bathroom and got a glass of water. As I put the glass of water in the dishwasher, something pricked my hand. I pulled my hand back and switched on the lights, but there was nothing in the dishwasher. I looked at my hand, and it had 4 little indents on the top and bottom where something had broke through the skin. Since that day, I've had little bumps in my skin where the marks were, and I always remember to turn the light. After my parents' divorce, and for too many years after, my twin sister Ginny would wake up unexpectedly in the middle of the night. Her demeanor would always be frightened and scared when she did. It always reminded me of when we were kids. She would escape to my room, away from our drunken, abusive mother. Ginny would just sit on the floor at the side of my bed and brush at my hand as we stared at each other in a warm, comforting embrace. 5, sometimes 10 minutes would go by until she would start to pull away, and I'd know it was over. We would never talk, but we never had to in moments like those. She just needed a place to escape. A September night, nearly 4 years ago, was different. Ginny was exceptionally frightened and crying inconsolably. For the first time since we were children, I could feel her grasp my hand to wake me. Her grip was cold, damp, and trembling in fear. She was so scared and helpless that I felt equally scared and helpless. This is a common empathy twins share, especially for Ginny and I. After 20 minutes of comforting her and holding her as tight as I could, I felt her slipping away again. This time, she begged and pleaded to stay with me. We would never talk during her escapes, but this night was different. As I lunged and jumped to keep her from floating away, I lost my ability to feel and to touch her. She floated up onto the popcorn ceiling and was dragged across the harsh surface until she melted into the sheetrock and out of sight. The vision of her petrified face and desperately extended left hand will forever be seared into my memory. Her husband must have been exceptionally rough that night 4 years ago, much like my mother often was when Ginny was a child. When I watched her fade away, I knew I'd never see her again. For some reason, I just knew. Confirming what I already knew, I received bad news the next morning about her violent murder and rape at the hands of her husband. Even though I already knew the how and why, the police never could explain the scrape marks and the dust on Ginny's back. I guess I could have told them, but what good would done anyway? Only twins could understand. I had not felt the embrace of my sister in nearly 10 years prior to that moment, but for whatever reason, I was able to feel her again for one last time, to be with her when she needed me most, like I always was when we were children. It never mattered that we were always 1,000 miles apart. When thinking back to my earliest memories, nothing is concrete. A string of hazy images come to mind like random snapshots out of time, each one associated with certain feelings and emotions. They are imbued with a mystical dreamlike quality, a gift born of childhood naivety. The magic of every Christmas when Santa was still real, for example, is an experience of pure joy that is lost with maturity. Many of these snapshots are impossible to place in any sort of context. They're just there, sunken in the crevices of the brain without rhyme or reason. Playing with my dad's beard in a wooden paneled room, him smiling down at me, comforting. Or discovering a long row of marching ants in someone's wooded backyard all by myself. Exciting. Some of them don't even seem real in hindsight. Did I actually fall from the tree by the lake only to land on my feet without a scratch? Was it really a dream? I don't think so. Sure, I have memories of distant dreams, but there's a clear distinction between the dreams and reality of my past. I don't know how I can tell, I just can. And for this reason, one memory has always troubled me. The experience was so surreal, and yet certain details stand out with marked clarity. I'm not exactly sure when it happened. I couldn't have been older than 5 or 6. My brother and I were sleeping in our bunk beds. Because he was older, he got the top bunk. I had just woken up, but it was still nighttime. Something felt different. I remember seeing and smelling the rain, but not hearing it. The window was open, and it was very cold in the room. Why was the window open? The curtains were gently flapping, but there was no breeze. The quiet was so intense it buzzed through my ears. I'd been lying on my side with one arm dangling off the edge of my bed. Gradually, I became aware that it was warmer near the floor. I felt some kind of heated breeze gently striking my hand, coming and going in short bursts. Finally, I recognized it as someone's breathing. Then the woman slid out from under the bed. The night light showed that she had long blondish hair and wore a white nightgown. And in the dimness, I thought it was my mother. I wasn't at all scared. It's funny how a child's mind works. What's Mommy doing under the bed? Must be getting something or checking for monsters. I was too tired to say anything and remained motionless, watching. The woman was on her back, but her face stayed in the shadows. She rolled over and crawled on all fours at the far end of the bed, then glided up the ladder to the top bunk. Her every movement was silky smooth and completely silent. She reminded me of a white ribbon dancing in the wind. I closed my eyes and fell back asleep. I also remember my brother telling me about a weird dream he had the next morning. He dreamt of a woman who lived under the floor and came out to play at night while it was raining. When her clothes got soaked, she went back inside and would whisper things to anyone who was sleeping. It became a recurring dream for him until our family moved out of the house. Strange what a brain chooses to remember.